Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Sona Vasudevan. Dr. Sona Vasudevan interests spans the areas of structural biology, structural bioinformatics, homology modeling, protein-ligand and antibody-antigen interactions in RNA biology. Her research interests include comparative genomics, protein classification, protein homology modeling, and molecular dynamic simulation to look at the effect of single nucleotide polymorphisms in breast cancer, evolutionary analysis, systems biology, and translational informatics. Dr. Sona Vasudevan would be talking about the systems medicine education at Georgetown University. Over to you, Dr. Sona.
Thank you, Sonalika, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, Elia, for the amazing opportunity to be part of this symposium. I've enjoyed it very thoroughly. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I know there are lots of participants from different parts of this world. So I'm just going to spend the next 15-20 minutes to tell you about, let me share my screen. Okay, I hope you can see my slides here.
Yes, ma'am, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm going to spend the next 15-20 minutes to tell you about an educational program that we have developed at Georgetown University, which is Masters in Systems Medicine. Of course, before I delve into the details of the program, I want to let you all know, those of you who have not visited Washington, D.C., you're welcome to visit because it's actually a very beautiful place out here, especially during the spring. And Georgetown University, of course, has expert faculty and a beautiful environment as well. So before I dwell into the program itself, I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the term systems medicine, because this is a very new term. But I think it's becoming more and more secondhand to those of us who actually practice informatics. So for those of you who have not heard of this, I just want to give you a brief definition of what systems medicine is. This is a very traditional definition developed by the European Systems Medicine Association. So it's a novel approach to medicine. It is the first step on the path to personalized medicine. It's based on computer models in which vast amounts of clinical data and are used to analyze health of individuals and patients. It promises to further our understanding of disease mechanisms, to boost the efficacy of treatments, and of course, cut costs of healthcare. In a nutshell, what systems medicine means is it's one aspect of personalized medicine. And we know that even with COVID, we're all experiencing there's no two individuals exhibit the same symptoms. We have a wide variety of symptoms affecting wide variety of age groups and a wide variety of outcomes. This is the practical definition of systems medicine. It is a multidisciplinary field that looks at an individual as a whole. It uses systems biology and computational sciences and omics technologies to help solve biomedical problems. And it is the future of medicine. And I'm sure you all will agree with me with the explosion of data out there. There is no going away from looking at data and putting things together. We had lots of interesting talks yesterday in the symposium about different integration techniques of all of this omic data and what the dire need for educating informaticians. And Dr. Bhatnagar at MIT just talked about amazing programs to expand this field of informatics, and that is extremely welcome. So in summary, what systems medicine is all about is the realization that one size does not fit all. Two patients with the same symptoms, same findings, same disease are given the same drug, but each patient exhibits different outcomes, different reactions to these drugs. And why does this happen? Why does drug response vary? This is what gives us the multi-dimensional problem to solve, which is at hand right now. So it all boils down to individual variations between two different individual patients. And these individual variations stem from genetic differences between individuals. It could be as simple as one single nucleotide polymorphism. I don't have to emphasize to this audience that majority of the diseases that we see is actually caused by single nucleotide changes. Sickle cell anemia is just one single mutation. And we're talking about a lot of variants right now. So it's all single nucleotide variations. So there are lots of variations that exist among human population. And there is ethnicity differences, age, genetic factors, diseases, drug-drug interactions, environment, nutrition. So these are all some of the major factors that lead to different drug responses among the different individuals. And why are we talking about this right now? I don't have to, again, emphasize to this audience. So we are at the midst of an era of big biological data, and we so happen to be in the middle of a pandemic as well. And a revolution in medical practice is happening as we speak with all of this data coming from different omic technologies. So it all started here with the Human Genome Project more than 2 decades ago. Successfully, we were able to map the total number of human genes, sequenced human genes. Of course, we are still continuing to sequence the human genome to get the most accurate picture of it. But today we stand here knowing that we have the total number of genes in the human system is about 20,000 to 21,000. So this initiated a whole cascade of different avenues to pursue. And of course, when the good news about the human genome sequencing project was completed, all of us, including myself, celebrated, thinking that this is the beginning of end of a cure for all diseases. But here we stand after 2 decades. We are still not there yet. We have made lots of progress, but we're still not there yet because of the complexity that exists in the human genome itself. Of course, omics space, all of you are familiar with lots and lots of different omics, and we are in the middle of an omic era. So omics space is actually the pillar of systems medicine. So we have lots of different layers of omic: genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, you name it. And genomics is being used to integrate pathways, mutated genes, drug-drug interactions for various diseases. To add to all of this complexity, we are now dealing with another omics, which is the microbiome, with all of these individual organisms that we all carry alongside our human genome and human cells as well. So these are all the different omics where we have a huge amount of data coming out of all of this. And now the challenge that faces us is how do we look at and integrate all of this and come up with an understanding of diseases and understanding of human biology. So genomics has become an universal diagnostic tool in clinics right now. And to understand the molecular mechanisms of diseases. I can't even think any other way of looking at a disease right now. Even when I did my PhD about 2 decades ago, all we did was study one gene, one protein, and the implication of one gene and the mutations in it in a disease. But here we can't do that anymore because we have come to an understanding that diseases are defined more complex. Of course, I'm not talking about the monogenic diseases. Majority of the diseases are more complex than that. So this has led us to look at genomics, and now we are currently using that as a diagnostic tool. So systems medicine is already in clinics, and it's surfacing in various different ways. big data, using large data sets to learn about general population, clinical decisions, and all of those things. Of course, reproductive endocrinology, testing embryos of potentially fatal conditions. We are here doing all of this today. Genetic testing is available widely, and we're able to catch a lot of metabolic disorders in newborns. And tumor profiling using genetics to tailor cancer treatments by tracking mutations, and pharmacogenomics, assessing individuals' prospective reaction to a drug based on their genetic specific makeup. So we are already seeing systems medicine in a day-to-day practice of what we are doing. And here I stand today to let you know that there is a revolution in medical practice, and we are all about efforts about disease prevention and promoting health. That is our goal. So all of this data and all of this has made us realize that we are learning a new language. And it has led us to realize that we actually need new educational programs to learn this new language. And this education, in my opinion, has to start from schools, high schools or undergrads. And so Georgetown University, we realized this about a decade ago. And also, of course, all of you will agree, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest, right? So that led us to create a dual master's degree program in systems medicine at Georgetown University. This was launched in 2011. And the program, of course, I'm not going to go in depth about the curriculum itself. There may not be much time, but I'm happy to talk about it and send you some links that, and you could go and look at the details of the curriculum. The curriculum for this master's program mainly was intended for students in medical school who have completed years of medical curriculum, because these are physicians that are going to be using this data for treating you and me. So this program was intended to generate a new type of physician, one with a grasp of modern computational sciences and omic technologies, genomics, proteomics, metabolomics, and translational sciences, etc., so that they can embrace this into their practice of medicine when they are looking at that. And of course, more importantly, to understand the system's approach to medicine, because one size, as I mentioned, one size does not fit all, and it is not about one gene, one protein. It is about a whole systems that actually we have to look at in order to understand a disease. So after a successful launch of a dual degree program, we came to the realization that this language has to be taught to all students, no matter what their career paths might be. So that led us to create another master's program, which is a freestanding master's program in 2016. And it was intended for any student who's interested in understanding biomedical, any discipline in my biomedical sciences. This is again to generate a new type of scientist, new type of physician, new type of any healthcare individual who can also learn this language to embrace that we can. So again, more importantly, to understand the systems approach to medicine and research. So we launched those two programs, and I'm not going to go deep into the curriculum itself, but just to give you a flavor, students have to complete 30 credits of course requirements. That includes core courses that each student is actually trained in, that include biostatistics, biomedical informatics, critically reading scientific literature, which is becoming actually very, very important. Unless you understand how to read a scientific paper, we're not going to be able to understand what is out there, and to critically review different techniques and technologies to make amends and improvements to all of those, and to be able to understand how to analyze clinical patient data that's out there. We have huge amount of data that's available in different resources. And of course, as I mentioned, microbiome is becoming extremely important and what are the different organisms that are up and down regulated in different situations. What is a normal microbiota? So we have courses that teach the students how to look at microbiome and what are the different aspects to genomics, and how do you take data from bench to bedside, and how do you translate all of the data and the experimental data that is out there, and looking at metabolomics with everything is about metabolomics. Any reaction in our body is going to give you metabolites. So this is the a picture of the courses that students actually learn. And of course, in addition to the core courses, students actually end up taking elective courses based on their interests and based on their career paths. So we have several different courses that span from looking at drug design, three-dimensional structures, to looking at how do you think in systems, right? And also how do you create policies, and how do you look at all of this in a lab, and how do you learn all of this? So this is, of course, the details of all of these courses. You can find it on our website. And students are allowed to take courses across the entire different departments at Georgetown. They can learn about epidemiology, or they can learn about diets, they can learn about supplements, and all of those things. The most important part of the curriculum is a capstone project. So students are mandated to do good portion of their time they spend doing research. So you can learn as much as you want in a class setting, listening to lectures, but unless you know how to learn to apply these in a research setting, it's not going to be a practical use, and we won't be educating the students to use of all of these different techniques and resources and tools that they learn in a class setting. So capstone is a very integral part of the program. And students spend more than 240 hours doing research, and the research culminates in a poster presentation, and majority of the students end up publishing, being part of a publication. So which as they learn how to write a paper, they publish a paper, and they know how to apply all of the tools that they're learning. So research is an integral part of the program. And students have a variety of options to go and do their internships. We have several mentors. This is just only a flavor of the institutions in and around Georgetown where students actually go and do their mentoring. Of course, in addition to all of this, students have mentors in industry and other universities as well. So we have a wide network of collaborations across different universities and industry settings. So the question is, what are the skill sets that these students actually get out of this program? And if you are out there looking to hire, these are all the skill sets that they get. So they understand what is big data. So what it means to actually deal with humongous amount of data. So they also understand what sequencing means. They understand how to carry out next-gen sequence analysis, RNA-seq analysis, microbiome data analysis. So they're exposed to how to do use the data and meaningfully extract knowledge from these data. We also teach biochemistry, which I think is fundamental, whether you're a researcher or whether you are a physician or anything, you have to understand the biochemistry. But the way we teach biochemistry is based on cases. It is about patients' cases. So they understand that a patient walks into the clinic, has these symptoms, and they understand how to troubleshoot to figure out which gene is going havoc in them, what mutations they have, which pathways it's implicated, so that they have an understanding of the disease from a systems perspective. And thanks to Pine Biotech and ILIA, we have been able to launch a course on machine learning and AI, and I'm very excited about this. So students learn machine learning as well aspects, and they also learn about healthcare in terms of electronic health records, electronic medical records. How do you mine them? How do you get value? How do you take basic research from bench to bedside? And they also, of course, learn how to read an article, scientific article, which is actually very, very important for you to be able to distinguish between good papers and critically thinking and analyzing the results of a publication. They also learn how to mine patient data, how to use patient data, how do you understand the comps of all of these patient data. Last but not the least, they also learn to get their hands a little bit wet to understand how do you generate good DNA or RNA that can be sent for sequencing, and what are the caveats in them. So how do you understand between good data, good sequencing data, and bad sequencing data? So we expose them to the nanopore sequencer, so they learn how to actually hold the sequencer and do the sequencing. So these are all the skill sets that the students actually learn from the program. And there is something for everyone. So those students who actually come to us for the MS program, they of course go and become physicians. And those students who actually do the MS program go on to go to medical school, nursing school, BA or GO schools, or go into PhD programs, or work in industries, academic settings, and of course, healthcare and doctor's offices. So there is something for everyone in the program. So we are all about skill sets. And so they develop lots of skill sets that they can apply in different industries and different job settings. So the question that's always asked is, where are the graduates now? So the graduates are all over the place here. Some of them are in medical schools, PhD programs, nursing schools, and of course, several of them are working at several different universities, NIH, FDA, and all of those. So, so the students get placed pretty well. And of course, why Georgetown? And I'm proud to say that the program is the first in the nation. And of course, we have outstanding faculty and we have an outstanding team to help us. Of course, it all boils down to whether we have scholarships that we support the students. Yes, we do have several different scholarships that students can apply to. So we have an endowment of $100,000 that was generously provided by Robert Stephen Lightly endowment scholarships, and we also have lots of different biomedical graduate scholarships. Of course, all of the details are, you can find it in the website, and I'll post the link to our website in a second. Of course, it's not all about academics. Students have a very good life. We go out for lunches, we party, we celebrate different things, and we have a social life as well. And there's a wonderful academic life as well. Students attend conferences, they present their work, they are taken to field trips to the NIH to see the sequencing facilities, and you can see all of them are smiling, so the program does treat them well. And so they do have, in addition to their academic life, they do have a good social life as well. So this is the website to the program if you want to learn more. And I just want to actually leave a few minutes for questions so that I can elaborate on anything else that you may need from this. And I want to thank you for your attention. And if I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Vasudevan. We do have a question. Do you have an opinion on the advancement of AlphaFold that will change the scene in structural biology field in the near future?
That's actually an outstanding question. I am a structural biologist by training myself, and yes, it is going to completely revolutionize the way we are going to do structural biology. And as you know that already, people are using AI and machine learning. And in fact, we have a structural biology team at Georgetown University who have actually used the concepts to come up with some, therapeutics for COVID-19. And the answer is yes. I've been waiting for this. And the answer is yes. This is going to move the field very fast. So that we'll be able to design drugs in a much more systematic manner as well. What we could not do before, we're able to do because we don't have to depend on the experimental sciences. But of course, there are lots of caveats still. We are not there yet, but we are getting there. And I think this is definitely going to revolutionize. I'm very excited. I'm actually learning and using it myself. So the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So in your opinion, how do you see someone with a master's degree in molecular biology and genetics fit into systems medicine?
Actually, I would definitely welcome. In fact, I would love to have students who have the background in biology and genetics to be able to contribute to informatics. As you know, informatics is actually an application field. We do depend on experimental biologists and the knowledge from experimental biologists to make sense of all of this data that is coming out. And in fact, most of my students who come, actually, I require that they have a biology background. And if you have a molecular biology background and genetics, that's an added, it'll be an asset to have such expertise in the program. And you will actually gain much more than just a person without a little bit of biology background.
And so the final question is a two-part question. So do you have any international students that join your program? And if somebody like that wants to apply, how are they going to handle the registration and fees? It seems like the program is very expensive.
This is actually some of my heart bleeds because I do want a lot of international students. And what limits is the expense? Yes, the first part of the question, the answer is yes, I do have international students. I have graduated almost about 7 or 8 international students in the program since its inception in 2016. And I know that expense is a big problem, and I'm trying to find funds. There are merit-based scholarships that the program provides, and if you have a merit-based, if you qualify for that, you definitely, of course, it's not a lot of money. So that is something that I'm actively pursuing to figure out how to generate revenue so that I can create more scholarships for international students. So we do have a lot of international students actually at Georgetown, and personally, I do. In fact, I have a couple of international students who are going to be starting tomorrow for this fall.